Brandon Henry is a pit crew veteran. Like any pit crew member, he knows it comes with risk each and every time he sets foot on pit road. He understands one mistake could result in him getting seriously injured or worse. On Saturday in Kansas, Henry found himself in the unenviable position of staring down the number 33 truck he was pitting, knowing full well it was carrying too much speed and wasn't going to be able to stop. He remembered back to his training, and the most important thing for any pit crew member when facing this type of dangerous situation is to get off your feet. He did just that and still paid a painful price. I visited with Henry about Saturday's incident, the conversation he had about it with Lawless Alan, the injuries he sustained, and his plans for a return. I'd like to welcome to the channel from the pit crew of Jeremy Clements Racing, Brandon Henry. Hey, Brandon, thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me on, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So
Good.
let's just kind of, before we jump into what happened in Saturday's truck race, which is obviously the hot topic of conversation, kind of give me a little history of your past and how long you've been in NASCAR and been pitting cars. So kind of go back to the beginning for me.
For the beginning, I guess the beginning would have to start in, excuse me, probably 1999. I was 7 years old. My first race, Talladega. It's around the area I grew up, and my father took me out there, and I didn't get to meet any drivers. I got to meet Jeff Gordon's pit crew, so I had a hat signed by Jeff Gordon's pit crew. So the pit crew thing has always kind of been on my radar, up near the top of the list of things I just thought was really cool about the sport. Of course, everybody wants to drive, but that's a whole different path that you have to start when you're, 6, 7 years old. So sometimes earlier. But I fell in love with the sport and attended those races, every Talladega race up until 2012, or excuse me, 2011. I graduated high school and joined the Marine Corps. So the 4 years I was in the military, I didn't really watch a race. I kind of fell out of being a fan for a little while and just doing my job. And fast forward 4 years, and I'm getting out of the Marine Corps. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So when you leave the military, you have to leave behind this sense of belonging, this pride of belonging, the camaraderie, the high pressure environment. All of that goes away, and then you're just left just living your normal civilian life. And for a lot of veterans, that's just not enough. It leaves a void that you have to find a way to fill. So after a short period of time back home in Alabama, working go nowhere job, basically, I decided I wanted to do something else. And I thought, well, I like racing. I contacted some people that I knew from the Marine Corps that attended the NASCAR Technical Institute here in Mooresville, North Carolina. And so I got on board with said school and attended it and just kind of played around with the idea of what I might want to do within the sport. There's so many opportunities, or possibilities when you get here, paths you could take that you don't really know. So they have a pit crew class, and that caught my attention because there's something about the teamwork and the elite status, the need to be better than everybody else, and compete, and that attracted me big time. So that was 2017, and I kind of got my foot in the door, pitting for Jen Joe Cobb and Ray Cicerelli and guys like that, and got my foot in the door, and it's been history ever since. So here we are.
Okay, so so basically like for 7 years, right?
Around that. I think this is probably my 7th full year.
Okay. So you're currently pitting for Jeremy Clements, who has been a regular guest on the channel. And who else have you pitted for here in the last couple of years?
Last year I was full time on the Our Motorsports 02. We had Blaine Perkins, and he actually suffered an injury at my home track, and that was a little bit tough. And then then we worked. I worked with Kyle Weatherman a little bit after that, which was kind of a bit of a reunion because I started off pitting for teams like Mike Harmon's, and there was a year I was with Weatherman all year, and so it was kind of cool to be reunited there because we had a bit of a competition social media wise back in the days to get more followers, entertain more people,
Right.
and that's always been a big thing, reaching out to fans and connecting with fans and stuff. And I know he loves doing that as well. So yeah, I got kind of close with guys like him. And last year was a lot of I pit for Caden Honeycutt. That was probably one of the more memorable ones. He took the '04 truck to places that hadn't seen in a while. You know, he's a great driver. So that's the more notable drivers I probably have to think back on. Did a race for Ross when he was driving a truck. I pit for Ross's brother quite a bit, Chad Chastain.
Right.
Pit him quite a few times last year. Probably a few more I'm forgetting. They're more notable, but apologize. I got fluid in my lungs. I just got over being sick before the pit road incident, so
Oh goodness.
got a bit of a raspy cough going on. It's been a
Understand.
week.
So let's go to that incident. It's
Okay.
it's in the race. It's a pit stop. You've done hundreds or lots of pit stops, and you jump over the wall. So you're a tire changer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you jump over the wall. You're ready to hit that front right tire, and you see the car coming towards you or the truck coming towards you. So kind of just walk me through what happens when you come over the wall and you're prepared for it. And the video obviously captures it, and it shows you just kind of get hit and go up. And then the other video shows where you land on your back. So walk me through that whole process and what happened.
Absolutely. So it was. I mean, it's more or less just routine. You know, you always entertain or at least keep in your mind that there is a possibility you can get hit. I mean, it happens. It's just part of the job, and that's not anything against Lawless. There's no bad blood between us, despite what social media was suggest. It's just a mistake, I mean, and it happens, and I could make a mistake and get him hurt just as easily.
Right.
So it's part of the job, and so when I jumped off, I knew he was way wider than he needed to be. But how I've always handled this in the past is just to make sure I clear the truck or car and get on the other side of it. And that's what I committed to. That's what I commit to every time. Had a similar incident at Talladega where Jeremy was following the 5 car in, and there wasn't much of a gap between the cars. And you just shoot the gap and try to make sure that you don't, get hurt in the process. And it's always worked out. It just didn't work out this time. He had the tires locked up. He realized that he wasn't going to make it. And by the time it had registered in my head that I was going to get hit, I just tried to minimize the damage. So making sure that I got my feet unplanted so that I wasn't attached to the ground when he hit me. You could break knees that way. It could have been a lot worse. Could have been pinned between both trucks. So I was making sure I got those feet unplanted and made sure I laid over the front of the truck. Again, misjudged it. So he more so caught me on the right side of my ribs and my hip, which spun me around. And when I spun around, I landed on my back. And I had some x-rays done just to try to rule out any significant issues that I couldn't feel because of the adrenaline dump at the time. But so the x-rays showed that because the way my back was arched as I hit the ground, it caused a retrolithesis, I believe is what it's called, which is where the vertebrae, you have discs between your vertebrae that cushion them, So the vertebrae slid backwards progressively. And it was a very mild movement. So it's not like I didn't break my back or anything.
Right.
It was just there was a very subtle movement there, the change, and combined with another pre-existing condition that apparently I already had that the X-rays highlighted I didn't know about was a sacralized L5, which means the L5 vertebrae at the bottom of my spine had fused at some point with my pelvis. So it's no longer an individual piece. So the concern is that those two, the injury and that pre-existing condition combined, may cause some chronic back pain in the future, but it is correctable by surgery. So if it comes down to that, then that's what we'll do. But as of right now, that's what the injury is, and more or less, I'm just going through some physical therapy right now. It's what I've been doing most of the morning, just stretches. And today I'll watch the boys practice, and hopefully tomorrow, I can do an easy workout, get a couple reps in practice, and be ready for Darlington. I fully intend to go work Darlington.
So when you get hit, you obviously go up in the air, as the video shows, you land on your back. And then it looks like from the video that was on the broadcast, you kind of go over onto your knees and you're on all fours. So is that just like, are you trying to collect yourself? I mean, you never lost consciousness, but obviously this is a huge moment and you just got hit by a truck. So what kind of is going through your mind? Like, oh my God, I'm hurt. I don't know if I can get up, or what's kind of going through your mind at that point?
Well, so when I landed on my back, my first thought was to just kind of be there and feel, try to see if I felt like anything was out of place or broken or anything. Then I thought I need to find my pit gun, because if I'm okay, I can finish the stop. So I go to roll over, and when I rolled over, I realized that all my breath had been knocked out of me. So I was trying to force myself to breathe, and that's why I kind of buckled over for a second, just trying to stretch my diaphragm out, because you've had the breath knocked out of you, everything gets real compressed.
Right.
So I was trying to catch my breath, and that's when I noticed my gun had been yanked from its hose, and I didn't see my gun. So I said, "Well, this pit stop's it's a blast. Like, we're not going to be able to finish this." So I then walked back to the wall. I believe Lawless continues out, and I just kind of spent the next probably a couple of minutes just regaining myself and talking to the paramedic about what I was feeling, which was next to nothing because adrenaline was up. So I got with the paramedic and went to the info care center and got checked out. But yeah, that was it. I was more or less trying to catch my breath and regather myself. I realized I was still out there in a dangerous spot, but I had no interest in getting up right away.
Right. So you said you have the back injury and there was some shifting. I mean, you said the hip, you got hit in the hip and the ribs, and obviously it was a pretty hard fall. So any other injuries or just some bruising, I guess?
Yeah, it's more or less just bruising, because the soft tissue around the area obviously got stressed a little bit. So around my ribs, I do have some soreness. The spine slipping, I mean, that's caused some back pain, but it's nothing that's not manageable with the standard, muscle relaxers I was prescribed. So nothing too serious. I'd say nothing new popped up. Maybe my elbow hurts a little bit, just part of the landing, but
Right.
no, nothing significant.
So after it happened, obviously that's a big deal. So I'm guessing you get people reach out and kind of talk to you. Who did you hear from after it happened?
Well, the first person that tracked me down was Bob. He's if there's an incident, Bob Pockers is going to be the first one there. So
That's right.
he's great at his job, but I was surprised to get out of the care center and see him right there. And when I got back to my phone, he had already laid out the full deal, on social media. So truthfully, I didn't even have to update my family immediately at all. They had already seen all of it and said, Bob, as soon as he saw me leave, tweeted that I was good, and so I appreciate that. But yeah, Bob, obviously I spoke to Lawless a little bit. My boss was actually carrying tires on the truck, my direct boss. So spoke to him about the incident, and it was less serious than it could have been, thankfully. So
Right.
yeah, there were a bunch of people that reached out, and I still don't think I've answered all of the messages and stuff just from family and friends. But yeah, I was very appreciative and blessed to have a lot of people reach out and see if I was okay.
What was that conversation with Lawless like?
Well, he was obviously upset. I mean, that they usually are. I mean, he's still a kid, and he understands that the principle of it. That it could have been worse, and
Right.
he took full blame for it, and that's that's always nice. Uh, when it's not ignored or glazed over, like the driver just doesn't acknowledge it. That's never fun. So to have him actually talk about it, it was, I kind of needed him to, because you looked on social media and the guy took a roasting. I mean, as normal per Twitter and social media in general.
Right.
But I just wanted to make sure he understood that there were no hard feelings.
Right.
It's part of it. I could have just as easily have made a mistake too, and uh, I would have felt just bad as well. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, you NASCAR needs to do a better job of humanizing, the crews and the drivers a little bit. It's not always just business. It's
Right.
you mess up like that, and uh, he accepted, that it was a mistake, and uh, it could have been more serious. So the fact that he took it seriously meant a lot.
So, just curious, have you had any other experience similar to this in the previous, 7 years or so that you've been doing this, or anything? This was the first time you've ever really been hit.
I've been tagged a couple times, but I've never been full blown hit. No, I might have caught my leg a couple times, just not getting around the car fast enough. When I used to change rears, it's very common to get up from the right side and be face to face with a car leaving
Right.
behind you, and so had to jump over a couple of hoods, I guess. But no, I've never really been directly hit like that before, so yeah, that was a new experience.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's one that, as we all saw, it's memorable for, obviously for you because you were involved and you're suffering the consequences of it. So, I appreciate you talking to me about it. I hope you feel better soon, and just follow the rehab, I guess, and just keep taking your medicine. And hopefully, we'll see you back here on Saturday at Darlington with the 51 car, because I know Jeremy. He's a great guy. I've worked with him for the last few years, and I
Oh yeah,
love the small team mentality, and I'm always rooting for small teams because it's the underdog story. So I wish you the best of luck this weekend with the 51 team at Darlington.
thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you having me on. I've had a good time. I mean, you anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it, buddy.